Good morning. It is good to see all of you online today. I'm Karin Landsberg with the OUUC tech team. I prefer she, her pronouns. Welcome to all who are joining us on whatever platform you are using. This Zoom service is being recorded and it is streaming live to YouTube. We are leading worship from several locations today, so you will see the service move back and forth between us. Most of our sharing happens in the Zoom chat box, which is not posted or shared publicly. We use the chat feature for greetings, song lyrics, affirmations, and applause, and items shared from the heart. Please save your comments for the coffee chat, or feel free to contact Reverend Mary at minister@ouuc.org. We will be turning the chat on and off during the service today. We can expect some tech glitches as we continue to do all we can to optimize our connections. If you experience any technical issues during this service, you can reach out to Joe Celine or any other member of the tech team for assistance when the chat is on. We appreciate the grace as we all remember it's about connection, not perfection. Last, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice. In a moment, we can light them together. Thank you for your grace and adaptability as we all learn together.
Good morning. Let's sing together hymn number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. You can also find the lyrics to the hymn posted in the chat. May nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never lie. Allow these windows favorable, and rain go by. Thy faith makes strong the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This word through all the world grown chill will keep you warm. We shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep pain out and hold love in. Thank you for singing.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation online worship service. We welcome each of you to this celebration of love and to this congregation. The OUUC community comes together in the mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission, to welcome and wonder, to embrace and empower, to bridge and become. We're so glad that you are here. My name is Des McGarren. I use he, his pronouns, and I am a returning member to the worship arts team. Leading worship today with me is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Sarah Lewis, the Director of Community and Faith Development. We are grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to the ushers and greeters, the breakout room hosts, the tech team members, and all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, we will have the chance to meet and to say hello and to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. We invite you to do this by going into one of our small group virtual coffee breakout rooms. Each breakout room will be hosted by someone to help with introductions and to introduce the discussion topics. Come join in. Following our small group virtual coffee, Please plan to stay after for a question and answer session with Board President James Trujillo and Reverend Mary. They plan to give some updates, talk about shared ministry, and answer any questions you may have. This is your chance to be heard by the board. This month's full moon meditation is tomorrow, Monday, September 20th at 7 p.m. This Sangha comes together in community to reflect on and live into the teaching of Thich Nhat Hanh. You will find the Zoom link on the OUUC website. The Thursday evening spiritual practice will be a musical meditation offered by Troy Fisher. We will be on Zoom and some people will be in the comments by registration. You can sign up at the link provided in the chat and also on the OUUC website. Next Sunday, Victoria Poling returns to our virtual pulpit with a service titled Collaborators of the Interdependent Web, about human interaction with the web of life. Because Victoria will be joining us remotely, this service will be online only. Thank you for your presence on Zoom. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community. Please check the website regularly. If you have questions or need help, please check in with a staff member. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together. I'd like to share these words by Jennifer Grayson. We light this chalice, symbol of our purpose to bring more love and justice into the world. We light this chalice knowing our congregation as a church dispersed across communities, not bound by walls, but connected through the web of life.
Good morning, everyone. Our opening words this morning are offered by Gwen Matthews. Feel that? Each breath, every inhale, exhale, we are living, breathing, connected. We are the whole, complete, beautiful selves that we were born to be. Feel that? In your bones, in your muscles, in your heart and your blood. That is the extraordinary you. The you who was born for this time, this place, this moment. Feel that? The struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief. It is still you. You are still whole, complete, beautiful, extraordinary. Feel that. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together hymn number 134, Our World is One World. And as always, you can find the lyrics for the hymn posted in the chat.
Touches one affects us all. The story that I have to share with you today is called Earth Mother. It's by Ellen Jackson. One day, Earth Mother went for a walk by the river. As she walked along, she smiled and nodded at the animals that were gathered there. And then she came upon Frog, who was sitting by the river. "How are you doing, Frog?" Earth Mother asked. "Oh, very well," said Frog. "I can't really complain. Life is good. Why, there are so many mosquitoes to eat. We are very well fed. The only problem is humans. Why, humans trap us and eat us, and oh, it's awful. Why, the world would be perfect if only there were no humans in it." Earth Mother said nothing, just smiled, nodded, and continued walking along the river. Before long, she came across a human who was standing by the river. "How goes it, human?" Earth Mother asked. "Well," they said, "it's a beautiful day here at the river. There are plenty of frogs to catch and we are well fed. Only problem really in life is all of these mosquitoes. Why, they love to bite us and drink our blood, and it's awful. Why, the world would be perfect if only there were no mosquitoes in it." Earth Mother said nothing, but smiled and continued on her walk. And soon enough, she came upon a mosquito. "How goes it, mosquito?" Earth Mother asked. "Oh, very well," replied the mosquito, buzzing. "Why, there are plentiful humans this year, so we have much to eat, and it's very good. The only problem is that these darn frogs keep eating us. Why, the world would be perfect if only there were no frogs in it." Earth Mother smiled and continued on, knowing that truly the world was more perfect and lovely than any of them knew. Thus ends our story.
We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives, and there is much these days. In this space, we draw on the strength and resilience of our community to listen deeply and hold all that we bring here with us. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid, and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, our own and others. If you would like to send in something to share in the service, please look for the link on the online worship page on the website or send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the drumbeat, the heartbeat of our community. Right now, let's take a breath together, in and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community today. Martha Guilfoyle and Des McGarren mourn the loss of their dear friend, Richard England. His life was cut short by cancer. They ask that we keep Richard's wife, 2 daughters, and large extended family in our thoughts. Martha and Des, we hold you and are with you as you mourn. Nancy May asks for our prayers and intentions for healing, as she is having an exacerbation in her lung disease and having a very difficult time breathing. Nancy offers her blessings on us all. Nancy, we send you our blessings back to you with prayers that you have relief soon and can breathe easier. Polly Taylor shares her gratitude for the friends who have helped support her physically, emotionally, and spiritually as she recovers from knee replacement surgery. Polly is healing well and says it truly takes a village at any age. Polly, we wish you continued healing and good health. I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat on your screen. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. As we take in what is posted, let us hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share. We place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart, a stone holding the complexity of our lives, held in the water of community. We'll place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remain unspoken. I invite you into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation with a fall equinox meditation by Laurie, Gorgas, Al-Laban. Pause. balanced in the center between the longest and shortest days. Equinox. The wheel of the year turns and turns again. The air cools, days shorten. The sun seems to weaken, barely clearing the horizon after rising before beginning its descent. This is our opportunity now to pause. Balanced, breathing in, breathing out, knowing this present moment. This present moment is all that we are guaranteed. Like the sun moving toward the shortest day, each moment arises and is gone before we know it. This is the time to pause and consider. As we enter the season of contemplation, of increasing darkness, of laying fallow, of dormancy. This is the season of letting go, of lightening burdens, of preparing for a long period of being still and going deep. Pause and consider. Binaries, dark and light, hot and cold, chaos and order. Neither extreme is inherently good or bad. It's all a matter of balance, of honoring the spectrum for which binaries mark the endpoints. Today, tomorrow, we mark the midpoint between summer and winter solstice, a time to seek balance and be free. May we be free. Blessed be, and amen. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together hymn number 83, Winds Be Still. You can find the lyrics posted in the chat. Peace,
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected here does two things. It supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. This offering is also one way OUUC connects with the larger South Sound community. Committed to the inherent worth of each person, we contribute money and time as we can, with gratitude for the opportunity to learn from our neighbors and community partners. This month, our Share the Plate recipient is Rebuilding Together Thurston County. RTTC provides free handicap modifications and home repairs for nonprofit facilities and low-income homeowners who are seniors, disabled, military veterans, and/or families with young children. Through critical home repairs and ADA modifications in underserved communities, RTTC addresses a connection between health and housing while preserving the existing affordable housing landscape. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You can also make a check to OUUC. Our community partners continue to need our financial support. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received. Thank you for your generous donations. Today's reading is an excerpt from the Chaos chapter of Sparks of Wonder. The chapter was written by Erica A. Hewitt and Becky Brooks. Although the German word Giftschrank sounds like a quirky holiday tradition, the term is really a combination of the words poison and cabinet. The term once referred to literal pharmaceutical cabinets in which chemicals were locked safely away, evolving to describe any container in which dangerous items are sealed to protect the common good. As any parent knows, our homes and even our workplaces contain informal poison cabinets, places where we stow medicine, liquor, knives, or other things that could be life-threatening to a child who doesn't understand the item's power. How do we as citizens respond to similar threats at the social level? Over time, Giftschrank has come to refer to the conceptual containers, often special rooms or vaults, used by libraries, museums, and government agencies as repositories for material that's considered harmful or sensitive. A Giftschrank is intended to contain, to control access for the sake of the common good. The stashing away of questionable writing or art isn't an attempt at secrecy, nor is it the same thing as censorship. There are still ways to access the metaphorical poison in the cabinet. Both in the United States and in our Unitarian Universalist congregations, we're primed to speak of freedom and to reflexively protect our right to exercise free speech. We're enamored of freedom as concept and practice and chafe at its narrowing, even in principle. When we study history, however, we learn that freedom is rarely freedom for all, and is more often freedom for some at the expense of others. If our congregations value interdependence, we must also acknowledge the ripple effects that can wreak unintended consequences on the innocent. At times, we're called to surrender some of our freedom in order to serve the whole. How might members of our communities be harmed if we give freedom a greater value than responsibility? This ends our reading.
The image before me was of a protest. People gathered in front of a government building somewhere, arms raised, holding signs, a speaker with a megaphone in front of the crowd. At the center of the image was a person holding a sign that said, "My body, my choice." Next to them was a person holding a sign that said, "No vaccines." At that moment, when I saw this image on my laptop screen, I was flooded with emotions: fear, anger, determination. I was instantly transported back to my days of working at a Planned Parenthood clinic, when I would cross a protest line to get to work every Friday. We were picketed by an anti-abortion, anti-family planning group that offered prayers for our sinful souls. Our clinic director thanked them for the prayers every week, saying that we needed all the help we could get, because we did. As I gathered my wits about me and returned to that image on my screen, I was challenged to intentionally turn to curiosity. And while I was furious, that this slogan for reproductive rights, my body, my choice, was co-opted by people who likely didn't support reproductive justice, I wondered, is it the same? Does my long-held belief in a person's right to make decisions about their body and reproductive health, well, does that extend to someone's right to not get vaccinated in a pandemic, even though they can be? Over the years, I have counseled quite a number of people facing an unintended pregnancy. I have never experienced anyone who made the decision about what to do easily. There are so many considerations, so many relationships to consider. Not only the impact on individual lives, but the impact on the wider family and community. What about the potential of the child that could be? What if parenthood delayed schooling? What if it is dangerous for a young mother? What if this were a first grandchild? What if it meant disconnection from family? What if it meant living in poverty? These hard choices are rarely made without consideration for the interconnection, weighing personal freedom with some sense of the impact on and responsibility to others. For many of us who are eligible, the decision about getting the COVID vaccine might have been the same kind of consideration. We might have thought about, what does the science say? What are the risks? How will it affect my health, my family, my community? We used our values, our moral compass, to decide for ourselves in relationship to how we perceive the common good. Sometimes making a moral or ethical decision is easy and straightforward. Knowing our beliefs and values, having a moral compass, is even more important when decisions are hard. And we have a lot of hard decisions to make, not only for ourselves, but for our nation and our world. We are at the center of three big emergencies: an emergency of climate change, an emergency of the global pandemic, and an emergency of challenges to democracy. Any one of these emergencies is huge. All three together are overwhelming, and the experience of them feels traumatic. There are hard decisions to make, even when we are in the midst of trauma. So this would be a good time to just pause and take a deep breath. Our spiritual theme for this month is the interdependent web. This phrase is part of the new OUUC mission statement, which we developed last spring. This year, we'll use words from the new vision and mission as our spiritual themes each month, so we can deepen our understanding of the words that we chose together. The new OUUC vision is for a loving, just, and healthy world. The new OUUC mission says, our spiritual principles affirm the worth and dignity of every person, and that we are a part of the infinite, interdependent web of life. We welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. The OUUC mission references the Unitarian Universalist Association's 7 principles, and specifically the 1st and 7th principles, which say that we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and the interdependent web of life of which we are a part. We affirm both the individual and the communal in the web of life. If there is anything that we've learned from the pandemic, it's that we are connected. And not only are we connected, but we are dependent on each other. The pandemic has reminded us that what we do matters. We realize that we need each other and that the survival of all of us is connected in ways that we may not even know or imagine. Your mask protects me. My mask protects you. Vaccines protect us all. Our health as a society depends on each of us doing our part. Interconnection and interdependence, both. Our interdependence can be a positive and healthy thing when good actions travel through the strands of the web. And there is another perspective to our infinite web. When we damage one strand, we damage ourselves and others. The strands of the web will carry evil as well as good. The infinite web has the capacity for both good and evil to travel through it because we humans have the capacity for both good and evil within us. With each action, we make a choice. We choose to see oppression or not. We choose to name injustice or not. We choose to resist or not. We choose kindness or not. We choose to learn or not. This tension between good and evil in our web reflects the tension within us. There are times when I really don't want to acknowledge that there is also the capacity for evil in our wondrous web. I want the web to remain magical and awesome, and I want to ignore the capacity for evil in myself and in others. I recognize this tendency in myself and others, and I call it sin. For me, sin is when we ignore, avoid, or deny that we are interconnected and interdependent, because harm comes from that denial. It is my privilege as a white, educated, middle-class person that even allows me to entertain the idea that I can choose to not acknowledge our capacity for evil and injustice. Many people experience those things in their daily lives. There are days when I'd really rather someone else took care of it, and that is part of the sin of denial. I believe it is the work of a faith community to support each of us as individuals as we discern and live into our values, for us to develop our moral compass. It is together as a community that we discern and live the values that we share. A faith community helps us develop our moral compass and holds us accountable to our aspiration of living a moral and faithful life. We don't always get it right. Nobody does. And being a learning people, a learning community, we open our minds, our hearts, and our hands, willing to try new things, to fail, and try again. This is our shared ministry. A colleague once gave me a lifeline when I was feeling especially discouraged and overwhelmed by the state of the world and the state of humanity. She simply reminded me that we are all connected. Just as evil can travel through the strands of the web, so can good. So just pick a strand in the web and pull it toward justice, she said. It pulls everything else toward justice too. When you work for immigrant justice, it impacts environmental justice. When you work for LGBTQ rights, it impacts reproductive rights. When you work to combat climate chaos, it impacts everything because it's all connected. So just pick something and work on it, because it doesn't matter what. Just pick something. It doesn't have to be big. Just pick something and pull it toward justice. My dear ones, we have many hard decisions before us. Just for example, coming up is decisions about booster vaccines. Right now, about 1/3 of the world population is vaccinated. In low and middle income countries, about 20% of people are vaccinated. Only 3% of the people in Africa are vaccinated. In upper middle and high income countries, 80% of people are vaccinated. Does a booster in wealthy countries take away from vaccines for people in poorer countries? Do the benefits of a booster justify letting people worldwide go without a vaccine? What do our values and principles tell us? What does our freedom allow us? And what is our responsibility? At the beginning of the service, we sang the hymn, "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door," a beautiful hymn. And when I served at First Unitarian Portland, I once suggested this hymn in a worship planning meeting, and there was total silence in the room in response. Crickets. Until the minister leading the service, who was Bill Sinkford, finally shared that it was his least favorite hymn because we bring the evil in with us. I learned an important lesson that day. Yes, there is evil in the world and we must work against it. And we bring the capacity for evil in with us. Whether that evil in us is manifest or not is up to us. We have a choice. The choice may not be easy, and we don't have to make the hard choices alone. Our faith tradition claims that we all minister to each other and to a broken and hurting world. Based on our shared values, this is our shared ministry. We journey with each other as we discover and live into our values and highest aspirations. We support each other, especially when learning is hard. We can celebrate that in the interdependent web, we are never alone. Our learning and our salvation lies there. Let us commit to keeping our minds open, our hands open, and our hearts open. Let us commit to learning, and let us commit to a journey of shared ministry. Together, we create the possibility of transformation within ourselves and of justice in the world. Let's take those words into a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together hymn number 175. We celebrate the web of life. You can find the lyrics posted in the chat. We celebrate the web of life. Its thread is to be seen. For we can see divinity in every living thing. A fragment of a perfect world, the practice and inquell. As much in tiny particle as in the great blue well. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones lead stone and star. And by your future worlds to come, in worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which Jacob's creatures earth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the
Let's extinguish our chalices together with a benediction for a people in pandemic by Anya Samler-Michael. When faced with a challenge such as this, we can turn toward each other or we can turn against. We can ignore the cries of our neighbors or we can let them cry into the arms of our witness. We can respond with indifference to systemic injustice, or we can commit to its undoing. Good souls, tales will be told of how we responded when this particular hell was visited upon our earth. Let us know and let it be said by generations to come that when the pain of our separation was revealed, we moved closer to the promised land of our beloved community. Amen. May we move in peace.
Let's sing together our unison benediction. Here we go. We are part of the web of life. We are part of the web of love. May our words, may our deeds
Please stay online if you'd like to join in virtual coffee and conversation. You'll see an invitation pop up that will invite you to join a breakout room. Introduce yourself to anyone you don't know. If you are not planning to stay for coffee chat, it helps us divide evenly if you find the red Leave Meeting button and step out. The coffee chat break rooms will end after about 20 minutes and we'll warn you 1 minute before we end. If you are new to OUUC, we'd love to hear from you. You can fill out a visitor card at the chat at the link in the chat. And don't forget to return to the main room after coffee chat today, or you can just stay here for today's Q&A session with James Trujillo and Reverend Mary. Thank you for building community today.